pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, welcome everybody. It's September.
Yes.
I always said as soon as also say as soon as July 4th comes, seems like the summer is gone.
It is.
So welcome back, everybody. Let's just introduce our council real quick. The approval of the minutes. Unfortunately, we do not have minutes to approve. I apologize. We had the last month, the notes. Somebody. Anyway, you're gonna have to forgive me. We'll have minutes next month.
I'm Adam Schellenbarger, and I do the live streaming.
I'm Jansen Robinson. I'm from Edgewood, the chair of the Joppa Edgewood County.
Jim Lyons, Job Magnolia Volunteers in the Gloria Woods section of Harford County. And don't forget, Joppa bingos are still ongoing on Wednesday nights at 6:30. They're all welcome.
Gloria Moon from Joppa, and she belongs to a lot of things.
All around Gloria, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know when to quit.
I'm Paula Mullis, I'm the chair.
I'm Alyssa DeRisca, Edgewood. Today's my birthday. Woohoo!
Happy birthday!
Couldn't find anything
I
better
think
to
we
do.
should sing to her.
I do.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Melissa. Happy birthday to you.
Where's the cake? Where's the cake?
Bob herself, Edgewood. No. Sure.
Is it your birthday? Oh, okay, Robinson.
No, it's not my birthday.
We'll sing to you anyway.
Before we get started, two things. I said Adam will be here after the meeting for a prayer session, so anybody that would like to stay after the meeting, Adam will be, am I correct, Adam?
Sure. Yep, sounds good.
Can you speak louder, please? I said after the meeting, Adam is staying, and there will be a prayer session for anybody who wants.
Yeah.
Also, Dion won't be here tonight. Please keep his mother-in-law in your prayers. He's at the hospital with his mother-in-law. She's 98, and she has pneumonia, and so.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so Diana's at the hospital with her, and I just spoke to Dion. He was going home to get some stuff for Diane, so keep her in your prayers. She's 98 years old, and so keep her in your prayers. And with that, the McDougal.
Hi, everybody.
Morning.
Nice to see everybody again. Captain McDougal, Southern Precinct here. Southern and Central Precinct. We're operating two at one building. I was going to go over. I'm sorry?
It's official now, you have it, right?
It's official now that.
That you have here?
Oh, yeah. April 15th, roughly, was the day. Yes. Yep. Let's go over the top 3 calls of service for the Edgewood Joppatowne area. They're the same last year as they are this year. Number 1 is suspicious incidents. Last year, 110. Oh, pause for a second. This data is from August 5th to September 5th, Thursday. Suspicious incidents, 110 last year this time for this month period, and then this year 130. The number 2 call for service is check on subjects. We had 105 of those calls last year, and then this year they're down to 90. And then alarm calls were the number 3 call type for this area. We had 86 last year, and then that's down a little bit to 74 for this year. Total calls for service for the area, we had 1929 last year. It's compared to 1786. That's a decrease of 7% in calls for service in Edgewood Joppatowne. That's good news, but bad news is we had 25 crashes this time last year compared to 38 this year. It's a 52% increase in automobile crashes. Part 1 crimes, so the serious crimes, the felony crimes in the area. Some notable changes. So like I said, this data doesn't include the tragic event from Friday, which was classified as a homicide. This data runs until the 5th of September. So from 2023, last summer, we had 3 homicides in this month's time. This year, 0. So it's a negative 100%. Rapes, we had 1 last year compared to 3 of this year. That's an increase. And then another big decrease was auto theft. As you remember, when I was in April and May, we had a huge surge in auto theft. Numbers were increasing through the roof. This past month, there's been a decrease. We had 19 last year, and compared to 11 this year. That's a 42% decrease in auto thefts. A couple other assaults, burglaries, under 50% change either way. Nothing drastic. And overdoses are the same. There's no change there. We had 4 last year compared to 4 this year. So there are the crime stat numbers. I know there may be a lot of questions in the room about the events that took place at the school on Friday. It's an active and ongoing investigation still. We have all the information at this point that we're able to release. The suspect's name, obviously the victim's name's known. The search is still ongoing for the weapon. That may be a question that comes from the room. There's a lot of frustrations, and it's all over the news about the ability to talk to juveniles. And I've talked about some of the juvenile justice reform stuff in this room before, especially when I talk about auto theft. We had those problems, and a lot of our issues in auto theft were juvenile related crimes. I could take questions if you have any questions in the room.
I have a question. I might have asked this once before. If the person is home when their house is robbed or is it called something different than if they know the home's empty and they try to rob it? Is there a different thing for that?
So I think you're talking about a home invasion style,
Yeah.
right?
Have you had
Versus
any
just
of them
the
last year?
a burglary in the last year.
Yeah, the last, whatever time frame. Because that's pretty bad. I mean, it's bad enough if they rob you when they know you're not there, but if they have the audacity to come in when you're there, they're dangerous people.
Yeah. So there are style burglary, robbery, home invasion. That's I spent a lot of my career in working in drug investigations. That's really where we see that occur. You'll have rival drug dealers or somebody who's going to rip a drug dealer off, and they'll commit a home invasion. They'll kick the door in.
So they actually call home invasion. That's the category.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're invading somebody's home. You're using force on that person. There are times where a burglary occurs and somebody's home asleep in their house, or somebody's home and during the day doing and then the person doesn't know that they're home, and then. It's really the crime toward the person inside the home once the burglary is committed that bumps that up to a home invasion style.
So we don't
crime.
have any that you're aware of. Home
There's none that
other than a drug situation.
Well, so I'm trying to think back in the past few months or in the past year, and nothing's really ringing out to me.
That's good.
I could give.
You want to hear. You don't even remember that there are any, so that's good.
Yeah, if I could check those numbers for you and get back to you. What's home invasion style crimes we've had in the community.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, I've been in the Dollar Tree right here in Edgewood a couple of times, broad daylight, a lot of people around noon, and it'll be a group of young individuals. Sometimes they have book bags, sometimes they don't. Now, I've said something as they walked out, they continued to walk. I don't want that shut down. We need that Dollar Tree. So what am I supposed to do in an instance like that? They're robbing it blind and just leaving.
They're committing shoplifting thefts.
Yes.
Utilizing the backpacks.
And the attendants, they just continue to work as normal. We've said something as customers. What do we do?
Businesses are not allowed to stop shoplifters.
Right, after that incident, remember it was a lady that was killed down in Rockville or somewhere. It was down the southern part of the state. And the employee, because she went after
She got in trouble.
the thief, and she ended up getting injured and dying. So after that, pretty much everybody's policy, because they had the issue where they kept going in several days, taking stuff out of the gate, and then the dummies were dumb enough to sit up and set up a table across the street at the gas station and resell it. And luckily, your officers did a very good job. They were able to get them. They came in, brought the stuff in the gauge, and when it's scanned, they brought them to your house here. So, but yeah, it's a problem because I talked to them. They don't get a chance. The manager for the Dollar General the Dollar Tree doesn't get a chance to get to the meeting. So I always take everything to them. It is a problem. They're in corporate discussions now about the two stores. Do they combine? And if they do, which location do they keep? The Joppa one or the Edgewood one? Because it's getting to that point. They need some help. They did ask me, because for a while when I had brought it up, and Captain
Gamble?
yeah, he did, and everything, so he did take a suggestion, and they did have more of a patrol through that middle part of the day after school hours, and things had gotten better, and so they did ask me what had happened to that, would that be coming back around with school starting? But it's a year-round
Yeah.
problem.
So I would say call 911. We'll get there, investigate it. We catch them in the act. We'll charge them accordingly, juveniles or adults, whatever it is. And one of the things that we utilize in cooperation with business owners, managers, employees is banning letters. Then you serve them with a banning letter, and they can no longer be on that property, and try to keep them out of that store, and hopefully mitigate any future thefts.
You have a question?
I'm the assistant manager at Dave's, and they rob us blind daily. I'm not allowed by company policy to call the police unless I'm threatened.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, what do these business owners do? Because we can't afford to lose these businesses if you're gonna bring stability.
it's not even losing them. It's all females almost in that store, and the criminals know it, so it's only a matter of time before we're held up too.
And robbing blind, I mean, they're committing shoplifting, like they're stealing. Yeah. Now the only time you could call the police is if they were to use force against you in some way or threaten you. Is that correct?
Unless it's someone we already have,
Banned from the store.
yes.
Okay.
Ralph, just a suggestion maybe, could you maybe have some time and meet with these businesses, and if they have video, would you guys then act on video that showed these people committing these crimes to the point that either they face some sort of justice, or they get banned, and then you kind of escalate from there?
Yes, we could attempt those measures in cooperation for prosecution on the back end, and trying to identify the people is going to be the most difficult part.
Or at least put it out on Facebook to the community. I'm sure you probably know some of the names when you see their faces, or you know their parents, and you're gonna say, hey, this is your kid. And maybe then you start to get at least some positive action instead of we feel helpless.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
My suggestion to piggyback on what she said, Dollar General in Edgewood, they are noticing that it's a whole lot of stuff there, and if you've been in there recently or within the past 2 or 3 days, they do have cameras in it. But my suggestion to you is, when you see a group of boys, young kids, it's not determined what they may do, you shouldn't say anything. You should just call the police, because they could follow you, find out where you live at, then you're dealing with a whole different situation. Just call the police, don't even walk away.
You had another comment?
Yeah, like everybody, if you see it, you can call the police, you can't stop them. That's another thing, the businesses will get sued if someone stops the criminal.
That's crazy.
I'm sorry.
They don't file charges unless it's $2,000.
Okay, anybody else? No, okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, he's always around, so if you have questions after the meeting, I'm sure.
Oh, wait, I have one question. I know you said you couldn't talk about the investigation. Real quick, because you were talking about the things and stuff, it seems that some of this is stemming out of gang activity. Do you keep a separate crime statistic on that? Because you went over the other statistics. Where are we at with gang activity in this Edgewood, Joppa area?
We don't keep specific gang activity crime stats. We have a intel unit that works out of this building, suppression intel unit, that keeps very close track of all the gang activity in this area and throughout the county, to include all different types of criminal gang organizations. We had a meeting this morning about this specifically with some school officials talking about this topic, and a lot of the juvenile gangs that we are tracking, paying attention to in this area aren't like they're very loose neighborhood affiliated. They're not something that you would see that we would think of as like a national brand gang. There's a lot of it's like very small groups, that are occurring. But we are on top. We pay attention to them. They are on the top of our list and make sure that we're always tracking their movements, the vehicles traveling in, who they're hanging out with, social media accounts. We are all 100% on top of that and keeping a very close eye on all those people we've identified as gang members, even loose neighborhood gangs or even more your stereotypical known gangs that we have throughout the nation.
All right, last question.
There's been a lot of rumors going around, so we're not quite sure what to believe or not. But is it true that the young man who did the shooting Friday at our school was just coming back from being expelled from possibly a similar incident from the last school year?
A similar incident as far as a shooting, that's not
Well,
true.
not a shooting, but violence. He was. The reason he came back on the 4th day is because he was still expelled from last year.
Okay, that's it. I don't have that answer. That's a question for the school board or a school
I was
official.
gonna say,
I'm
there's some
sorry.
other questions are for the school board. All right, last comment, then we have to move on.
If I could just interrupt for 1 second, the Board of Ed is having a listening session for the Joppa community this Thursday at 6:30. So if you're interested in the Board of Ed kind of listening to some of your concerns and questions, something like that, this Thursday at 6:30 is an opportunity.
Where?
Where?
It's probably going to be, I don't have the location, so, I'm sure it's going to be on Board of Ed, and I'll look that up, and when I speak, I'll try to have
All right,
that.
last comment, go ahead.
I guess my question was, because I had several people from the community that asked, the sheriff had made a comment when he did his debriefing that he was frustrated with the Child Interrogation Act, that he couldn't question the suspect at the time.
Right.
But according to the Interrogation Act, from what we read, and I understand it, so I'm just asking for clarity. If there's a threat to public safety, they can question a suspect and it can be recorded. And there's still a little commotion of, I haven't heard if the weapon was ever recovered. I would think that would be a threat to public safety, in which that would be able to be done. So I guess my question is, did they ever recover the weapon? You can't really say anything about that, but wouldn't that be a threat to public safety?
That law is written in a way for immediacy, right? If it were a situation where there was a shooter in a building and if the shooter was juvenile and he had an accomplice juvenile shooter, we have one detained, we could say to him, who is, that's immediate, right? Because there's potentially another person. That's what that law, that's what that, I hate to say the word loophole, that's what that part of the law is written for. Immediacy. At this point, I understand that the idea of the gun is a concern, it's a huge concern, right? But there's nobody on the other side of that gun pulling the trigger. That's where that would come in, where we would be able to ask those questions without the attorney.
And he's a juvenile because you can't question him without his parents, right?
Well, it's beyond that now. It's beyond the parents. There needs to be a
Right.
consultation with an attorney.
Right.
Thank you. Just real quick before we go on to our guest speaker, because I'm going to piggyback on something. All of these things that our deputies do, if you really want to know what they actually do, this is the place to go. It's the Citizens Police Academy. They have another class starting in March. I went through it. It's a 13-week class, and you will see everything. It will amaze you when you realize what these gentlemen and ladies actually go through. And some of it's really fun too. You get to go up to the range and see the K9 demonstration. You're in a class with me. You get to see the K9 demonstration. You get to see different scenarios. You get to go to the court and see how the courthouse works, which was really interesting. We get to go to the Department of Emergency Services, and that is just incredible. So I have some cards up here. Feel free to take it. If you haven't taken this, you really are missing out. But it gives you a really good insight into exactly what these gentlemen and ladies actually go through. All right, so we have a really great guest speaker tonight, and I'm sure that there's probably everybody in this room that has probably gotten a phone call from him at one time or another. So I'm going to introduce Rick Ayers, who is the Director of the Department of Emergency Services, who I'm sure, like I say, has called everybody in this room.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Ms. Mullins. I found out when she called and asked me if I would speak tonight that my wife actually worked for her, 40 years ago. Small world. And if you don't like my presentation tonight, I would like you to Jim Lyons, because he was on my interview board 40 years ago. So, well, blame you, Jim. I'll throw you under the bus a little bit, okay? So, when Ms. Mullins asked me if I would come and speak tonight, I thought a good bit about what I would like to speak about, and I remembered a conversation I recently had over a cup of coffee at the Wawa in Hickory one morning, where I was in my uniform and I stopped to get coffee, and a gentleman came up to me and he said, "I want to thank you for your service, but what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm the director of the Department of Emergency Services, and I'm the governor-appointed emergency." He said, "Well, that's good, but what do you do?" So my conversation with him over that cup of coffee is kind of the way I'm going to explain what I do and what our department does, because I just finished my 40th year with Harford County, and believe it or not, when I give tours of our building or I talk to the citizens in the community, there is a lot of confusion about what is the Department of Emergency Services. Everybody understands what a police officer is, and everybody understands what a firefighter is, but when you tell them you work at Harford County Department of Emergency Services, you get a lot of blank stares. So our department does a lot for the community, but it's not a lot of stuff that is out in the front lines in the street, and I think that's the reason people don't exactly know what we're all about. But I'm going to start with, we are the team of emergency managers and emergency management in the county that plans, prepares for almost any kind of disaster or emergency in the community. We help with the response of that emergency. We try to help the community recover once a disaster happens, and we work on trying to mitigate things that we can control before an emergency. So I thought I'd give you an example of the recent explosion that we had in Abington and what our team kind of did that day, which maybe will make you understand a little bit better of kind of how we operate when something like that happens. So right away, and again, this was on a Sunday. Most of my employees were off. And so my employees are on call 24/7 pretty much. And so right away, our Emergency Operations Center in Hickory, if you're not familiar with our building in Hickory, it's close. It's right behind the Hickory Elementary School off of 543. It's a building that we built, we moved in 2015, so it's a fairly new building, but it houses our 911 center. It houses our emergency operations center. So that room activated along with emergency management people, including myself, that went to the scene. And we worked for not only that day, but several days to help coordinate all the outside agencies that responded to that event. I mean, you have to understand, when you have an explosion, it's not your local fire department and law enforcement. I mean, we had the fire marshal's office there. We had the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Their ATF, they were there. A lot of federal agencies show up. We had to make sure all of those people were talking and everybody was on the same page. It was amazing to me how much damage was being reported a long ways away from the actual blast. And we needed a way to gather information from the community to find out if the community had damage. We certainly couldn't go door to door to everybody. So what we did is we activated the Harford County hotline that was staffed by county employees, also in my building at Hickory. And we gave the people a phone number. As soon as we published that on social media, I think we had 6 people in the call center, and the phones just started ringing off the hook. So it really worked. We were able to get that information. We were able to give it to the county department of inspections, DILP, if you've heard of DILP, and they were able to go door to door places and find out whether the properties had to be condemned, whether people could still live there. If they were condemned, we had to work with the Red Cross to help try to get shelters for people, give them food. We coordinated with our DPW people who helped clean the streets and get debris up and get it to a point where we could open it up for traffic again. And a lot of this stuff went on for days. And so, long story short, emergency management just helps coordinate all that to pull it together. So that's like a quick definition of what we, when a major emergency happens. The other thing, when I first became the county emergency manager about 20 years ago, my first question, because I didn't actually think I'd get the job. You've always heard, it's a good experience to just apply. And I thought, well, I went to college, I got my degree, I worked for the county at that point 20 years, so yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot. And I applied, and I thought, I'll just give it my best shot and see what happens. But when Human Resources called me and offered me the job, I was like, oh shit, now what do I do? It's like, because my background was kind of like a responder. And I was like, man, now I'm kind of scared because I'm responsible for 250,000 people now. And I said, so how do I get a hold of everybody in the community if I need to get a message to them? And they said, well, that's a problem. And I said, yeah, that sounds like it might be a problem. And they said, well, we kind of rely on the siren system in the county, and people are supposed to know if the sirens blow that they're supposed to turn to the radio station, and the radio station will tell them what they need to know. And I'm thinking, well, that might work in a community that has sirens throughout all of the county. Our county doesn't have siren systems throughout all the county. And they said, well, we have another system that kind of relies on 9 phone lines, and you can record a message and you can put it in, but it only can call 9 people at a time. And we tried to use it during Hurricane Isabel, and we only tried to use it in Havre de Grace, but the problem is it was still calling people 4 days later. And I'm thinking, oh my God. So that was how we started with the emergency notification system that I was able to procure through the county. So if I have a message that I need to get out to everybody quickly, that's the message that some of you have probably heard from me during certain events. It is funny that, a lady called me one night during one of the blizzards that we had, and she said, I have a problem, Rick. And I said, okay, what's the problem? She said, well, I got your phone call, and she said, you wanted me to clear the snow around my fire hydrant. And she said, but I don't have a fire hydrant in front of my house. And I said, well, ma'am, that was kind of a message to everybody in the county. And I couldn't convince her that that wasn't a personal phone call, it was just her. So I know people do listen to the phone calls. Sometimes people give me a little bit of a hard time, and I said, well, if you don't want to hear what I'm having to say, you can hang up on me, it's okay. But I do have good intentions when I call. One of the other things that we're responsible for is the 911 center. So all 911 calls come into my agency, and then we do the dispatching of all fire, EMS, law enforcement in the county, with the exception of police and the town of Bel Air and Havre de Grace. They still dispatch their law enforcement calls. We'll answer the 911 call, but if it's a state police call or a call in the city of Havre de Grace or the town of Bel Air, after we get that information, they have dispatchers that dispatch their officers to the calls. We're working on a plan, hopefully someday, where we can do the dispatch for everybody in the county and not have to have them rely on getting from us and then turn around and dispatching. At least that's my hope going forward. The other thing we're responsible for, which is still fairly recent, most of the EMS calls in the county up until about a year and a half ago were handled by the volunteer fire companies in the county. And they did a wonderful job for a long, long time, but they came to the county, last January, not January 2024, but January of 2023, and basically said, you know, we've been trying to supplement the volunteers with paramedics and stuff for 20-some years, and we just can't do it anymore. And we need the county to step in and put us over. So we did. We went from having 4 county medic units to now we have 17 EMS units in the county. Your particular area, of course, the call volume in this area is a lot more than some other areas of the county, so you have more ambulances in this area, obviously. We have 2 units assigned at the Joppa Magnolia fire stations. We have 2 units assigned at Abington. We also have 3 units in Bel Air. We have a unit in Perryman. So we have several ambulances covering this area. The national standard from the time the dispatch center dispatches an ambulance till it arrives on the scene is 8 minutes. And when we started this transition, we were a little bit over 8 minutes. We were closer to 9 minutes, and that was because it took me a while to get all these 17 units in service. I mean, I couldn't go from 4 to 17 in 2 months. I was actually able to do it in under a year, which I think is pretty remarkable because I had to hire 144 EMTs and paramedics. And to be able to hire that many people to staff these units and get these units in service, plus COVID made it very difficult to get new ambulances. It takes almost 2 years from the time you sign a contract for buying a new ambulance before it's delivered. So we actually had to buy used ambulances almost wherever, just to make sure we had enough ambulances to put in service. So there was a lot with that transition, but I'm happy to say it's complete now, and our people are doing a really good job. The other thing we're responsible for is a special operations team, and that's another thing that people get confused about. Well, what do you mean? What's a special operations team? So a lot of training, a lot of the volunteer firefighters have the training that's required to be a volunteer firefighter, but then if you want to go on and get trained to be able to do swift rescues, confined space rescues, rope rescues, confined space, you name it, that's all additional training that a lot of the volunteers didn't have time to do. And you also have to be recertified in all of that. And we also have responses for hazardous material incidents. So we took that responsibility on for the county. It's probably one of the best bangs for the buck in county government because the majority of my team are part-time employees that only get paid when they come to train or go on a call. Most of them are career firefighters in other jurisdictions who have a lot of training, but they also get a lot of time off because most of them work a 24-hour shift and then they get a couple days. And we hire them as part-time employees, and there's no benefits involved. I swear that and they're so professional and do such a great job. And but they get paid basically in Harford County when they're training or they go on a call. And then pretty much everything else that our department does as far as like the maintenance of our multi-million-dollar radio system that all the firefighters and law enforcement officers in the county work off of. People don't think much of that, but there's a lot of money that the county government put in the backbone infrastructure of the radio system where we have 10 towers, you name it, with the radios and stuff that we have to supply. Just one portable radio for a police officer or a firefighter is in excess of $5,000 in some cases. So you can't just give them to them and not do anything with them. I mean, you have to make sure you're maintaining them and keeping them in good repair. and really, you know, we're only as good as communication, so if they don't have good communication, things aren't going to go very well. The biggest problems in New York City during 9/11 was communication. And that's why you saw a lot of firefighters get killed and not many police officers, because the same communication wasn't being shared at both command posts. So most of the police officers got out while the firefighters were still running in. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen here in Harford County. So what kind of questions do you have? I mean, that's kind of, I was told I could talk for 15 or 20 minutes. I don't know whether I went over that or not, but yes, sir.
You also coordinate with FEMA. This is actually like a two-part question. You coordinate with FEMA and also manage the emergency stockpiles for the county for, you know, emergency goods and stuff like that that the county needs out, right?
So, yes, Linda Ploner, who is my division chief in emergency management, actually came from FEMA, which I don't know that was one of the driving forces when she went through the interview process, but it always helps to have somebody on your staff that works for FEMA. Because when we have a disaster, if there's a presidential declaration declared, and I could bore you with the details, but to get a presidential declaration, there's got to be so much damage in the state, and then Harford County also has to have a certain amount of damage, like $1 million and some dollars just for Harford County, and then the state has to meet their threshold. If both of them meet the threshold, then you can apply for a presidential declaration, which in most cases, the county will be able to recoup 75% of the cost that we had to put into that disaster. So you have to be on your A game when you're working with FEMA, and our emergency management team has a lot of training to make sure that we're getting all of the costs for that event and that we're relaying information correctly to FEMA. So yeah, we work a lot with FEMA to make sure Harford County's getting what we're due during a disaster. And the stockpile question, are you talking about like the mustard gas that used to be at the proving ground?
No, I'm talking about like for emergency food, water, shelter, that type of stuff.
Yeah, we have plans for shelter, we have plans for reception centers, all of that is in our emergency operations plan, yes. Our emergency operations plan for the county is about that thick. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I used to work for Harvard Transit, and I remember way back when I joined, they had the same radio frequency as the Harford County, your people. It was quite interesting. You heard a lot of interesting stories on some of that, but that's another story. You were like, get off of there, you're not supposed to be talking, you know? Yeah. But would you be able to tell me, I had a friend that called me that thought he was having a heart attack at 10 to 2 in the morning. It was by God's grace, because I had it on Do Not Disturb. And I said, you know what, let's just check the weather. Should I open the window or not? And I see I got a phone call like at 1:50, what the heck? Call my friend up, I think I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, what the heck are you calling me? Why aren't you calling 911? Because he's a man, and he wants to make sure himself, maybe he's really not having a heart attack. So maybe you can just come over and see if I am. Okay, I'm like, get out of here. I would call 911 for you. What my question is, will you know this? That woman asked me 1,000 questions, and I finally said, ma'am, my friend's maybe having a heart attack, and I may have to do CPR any minute, so I need to get off the phone and go to his house. So can you just dispatch Joppa Magnolia for me to ba-ba-ba-ba-ba? Now, I know they have to ask a lot of questions, but from the time you say, I have a friend that thinks he's having a heart attack, do they literally go bing? We're calling, this is the guy, they go bing, get an ambulance out there. What do they have to ask to press that button that says there's gonna be an ambulance?
So that's a good question, and we get asked that a lot. So the person that's answering the phone is not the same person in the room that's dispatching.
Oh,
so
great,
I guess
so
that's
they have to tell someone that?
No, it's all done in the computer. So all the questions that they're required to ask for whatever the call is, because it's law enforcement calls too. They put in what the chief complaint is, and then the program will tell them what questions they need to provide so we can give that information to the first responders. They're supposed to, and I don't know whether they do it every time, but they're supposed to tell you at some point, once they get the basic information, I need you to hold, ask some additional questions, but I just want to assure you that help is being sent. It automatically goes to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher dispatches the call. And they'll, on some cases, they'll stay on the call, on there with you until units arrive, depending on what the situation is.
Well, I was not the person that was having the heart attack. He called me. I wanted to get in my car. We only live 2 miles apart. I wanted to go,
Yeah.
I told him, make it to the front door, get that front door unlocked.
And you're
so
not
they
gonna
can
get
in.
locked up if you hang up.
I
mean,
just said, I gotta
they're
get off the
gonna,
phone.
it's one of those things too, where they're gonna ask the questions because they're required to.
I know that they need to ask, but it seems like an awful lot.
And, well, they have to, because if they don't, their job, they get in trouble for it.
I know, but
And-
meanwhile, he could be well, actually, it turned out he had a blood clot in his lung. That's what it was, that's why he could barely get the words out. They did pick him up, it wasn't Joppa Magnolia, it was somebody else ironically, and they brought him to the hospital, and then they figured out you didn't have a heart attack, but you had in your lung.
I will tell you that it doesn't matter whether it's a law enforcement call or a EMS call or a fire call, as soon as they dispatch it, those first responders want the additional information.
Right.
So really, all those questions are not really to help the dispatcher so much, it's to help the people that are responding to the call. And it doesn't matter whether it's I have some law enforcement, Sergeant Penman in the back of the room, I mean, that, when they respond to the call, they wanna know what's going on to help them size up the scene before they get there. If it's an EMS call, I have to know whether I'm dispatching a paramedic unit or an EMT unit. I can only do that based on what the people are telling my dispatchers. So,
You had a question, hang on a minute, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, several weeks ago, I had to call an ambulance for my neighbor. He became unresponsive while they were trying to get him into the car to take him to medical help. So the dispatcher, asked me questions, and then suddenly she was like, help is now on the way, but I still have to ask you more questions.
so that's what she should be doing,
And she
yeah.
did, I mean, she
Yeah.
was really, really good.
Yeah.
And, I didn't say anything until she asked me the questions. I didn't interrupt her or get all crazy or anything. And, but yeah, I knew help was on the way, and then when she was finished speaking to me, she offered to stay just in case things change, and then, somebody outside could yell to me, and then I could tell her. And, but at that point of the game, I had already heard the ambulance dispatch from my monitor, so I knew help was coming, and I told her everything was fine, that we will be okay, I would go wait for the ambulance, flag them down. And by the time I got outside, I could hear the ambulance coming down 40. I mean, they were just there, just almost instantly.
Well, that's what I wanna hear.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, it was really good.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just finished taking that Prepare Because You Care
Did you like
course.
it?
Yeah, yes, I think it was like a mini version of the Citizens Academy.
Yeah, that's only, what, 4 weeks? Is that how
Yeah.
many weeks you had to go to that? Did you
Yeah.
get a certificate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, so Linda or whoever
Linda
talked about
Plummer.
it at the same time, was that, yeah, like, all those questions is information for the responders once they get there.
Yeah.
But the help is already on the way.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, we have some calls where call in and his wife's having a baby and he has no idea what to do. And I mean, I used to be a paramedic, so I mean, I knew what to do, but the average father, he don't know what to do, and the dispatchers have to walk him through step by step how to deliver this baby. And we just did one the other day where we're recognizing one of our dispatchers, she helped the father deliver the baby. Can't do that if you don't keep them on the phone, Who else? Yes, yes.
Last one.
I had 2 questions. To follow up on what she was saying about the questions, and also she brought up, I understand about asking about the questions and
Yep.
everything, but one of the frustrating things as a patient is, okay, I've given this person all the information, told them what I'm allergic to and everything and stuff on the phone, all that. Then someone gets there and it's like,
You gotta ask it again.
no,
Oh.
on 2 occasions and I know he wasn't trained by Mr. Ron or my friend up there. They asked me, what's the problem? It's like,
You just.
I just talked to somebody about that,
Just told you.
and the fact that I had a 99% blockage in my left anterior descendant. What do you mean? What's going on? Yeah. So it's like, is there any way that you can focus or work on? Because like I said, I know that the two of them do their training. So where's the breakdown in communication at in a case like that? Because if like her friend couldn't talk, or well, one time I did pick up the phone and call 911, and I passed out before everybody on the phone. So it's like, what happens? Because I passed out, nobody responded because I came to several hours later. So what happens?
So, I mean, they are gonna get the basic information that was provided to them in the dispatch center. I'm not a paramedic anymore. I know they have, when they arrive on the scene, they work off the medical director's license, and I know some of that stuff they have to reconfirm with the patient when they get there.
Do they still have the ability, if you call on a house phone, will it pop up your address because it's a house phone?
Yes, if you
So
call
we're
from
calling
the
on cell
house,
phones, that's the
if
problem.
you call from your house, it automatically populates up
Try
on
to
the
use a house
screen.
phone if you have one.
Yeah, that's
A lot of people don't even have a home phone
I still
anymore.
do. So I have a heart attack, if I can pick that phone up, it'll get dialed to me.
And then my second question was, what, you talked about the radios and everything, what type of alarms do we have in Harford County? Like when I was in Wilberforce, Ohio, college, those alarm bells went off all the time because of the history of tornadoes and different things. And then when I was in Virginia, the hurricane season, we always heard the sirens and stuff being tested going on. Major alert do we have here if everything else does go down? Cell phones, everything goes haywire. What should I be listening out for?
So we rely mostly on my emergency notification system, which is, if you're not in the system, do you know whether you're even loaded in the system?
I believe so.
Because it would only go to people's home phone numbers. If you want your cell phone in the system, you have to get a hold of somebody in my office to have your information loaded, or you can go on the website and do it yourself. I encourage, because most people, when there's an emergency, aren't gonna be next to their home phone. So I encourage you to put your cell phones in. That is the easiest way for me to get information out to everybody in the county. We do not have a siren system throughout Harford County. So we rely more on this emergency notification system that we pay for to be that kind of like our voice to the citizens.
What's that site?
Thank you.
What's the site?
So I'll give the information to you, and then can you send it out to the group, because I'll give you Linda's information in there, because a lot of people would rather call and have somebody loaded for them, so I'll give you the information. Yeah.
Okay, Rick, thank you so much. I say you go to the cabin and you get to a tour of his building and you get upstairs to see the 911 dispatch office.
That's all right.
And you figure out exactly why they do what they do. Thank you so much. Tell Susan I said hi.
You guys have a good night.
I forgot to say, stay safe.
And be safe.
Be safe. Be safe, that's what it is.
Okay, what I'm gonna ask is, I know that, like I said, we'd like to have a prayer service for anybody after the meeting, so I'm gonna ask the rest of the speakers if they would please make sure that what they have to say is short and condensed, and so that we can end the meeting a little bit earlier, so that Adam can do what he wants to do, okay?
You do it. I'm just following Jansen's order.
Okay, so Cynthia, you're up.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Lentz from Harford County Council. I passed out these highlights for you, and it describes everything that happened at our first meeting on the 3rd, and then we'll have a meeting tomorrow night, and then there'll be one more meeting on the 17th this month.
Okay. Right, Lenore, you're up.
Thank you.
That's out of town.
Yes.
Couldn't happen to a better person.
You got that first shot. Fresh out of retirement.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
She was
It's good
retired,
to
but
see
she
you
was
again.
volunteering just to be part of our CAB and
Yes, I'm a volunteer, a legal volunteer. June 28th, I was out the gate legally as a retiree. My personal timekeeper over here, thank you so much. He's getting ready to start.
Just because you're volunteering doesn't change the time.
I understand. Those are the house rules, I got it. The county executive always wants to keep the community informed. And as a representative for the county executive, I'm here this evening to present that information. If there's anyone here this evening that cannot hear me, please raise your hand and let me know, and I'll turn my volume up. It's a new school year that has begun, and we regret that we had the incident in Joppatowne. When the county executive proposed that incident had not taken place. But to the Warren Grant family, the young man and that family that they lost, my heart and prayers go out to that family, and I thank the chairperson for having a bit of silence for that. As this new school year starts, please remember to follow the rules on the road around school buses and join in wishing all students, their families, and their teachers and staff a safe and successful new school year. That's why I said that the county executive had prepared these remarks before that incident. This is what you need to do if you smell gas. You may have heard about the explosion following a reported gas leak that destroyed several homes in Abington last month. If you smell gas inside or outside, leave the area immediately and call 911. Do not turn anything on or off that could cause a spark. The 911 call taker will ask you questions while dispatching the fire department. Firefighters will try to find the source of the reported leak using meters to detect dangerous substance in the air. If they are detected, firefighters will call for more help. The fire department may ask the 911 center to notify the appropriate utility to also respond. So if you smell gas, do not do anything but follow the instructions by calling 911. We want you all to stay safe. Let us remember 9/11. 9/11 is actually my daughter's birthday, and when we had that incident, we were out of town. During the situation, we were locked in an elevator when 911 took place. So that added to the excitement and everything else that was going on. Let us at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, September 11th, while we gather at the Harford Volunteer Fire Companies and veterans organizations to honor the first responders, military, and other innocent victims of the 9/11 terrorist attack. The county executive will hold a brief wreath-laying ceremony outside the county emergency service facilities, which is at 2220 Addy Road in Forest Hill. Anyone is welcome. Please join us. We want you to attend in support of this 911 event. Please remember that the lives lost and the survivors who lived, it changed their lives forever. There's a public safety open house September 20th. Meet the people who keep you safe, try hands-on activities, and see exciting demonstrations, including a car fire rescue and state police helicopter landing at our upcoming public safety open house. This is a free event for all ages, and it will include rescue vehicles, police canines, different demonstrations, food trucks, and even more. Excuse me. Join us from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, September 20th at the Escurian Center, 608 North Tollgate Road in Bel Air. I'm sorry. We have drop-off household items for reuse and recycling on September 21st. And I do have a few flyers and handouts, but I only have 25, and that's why I didn't distribute them before I made these announcements. But I'm gonna give you the site where you can print those flyers out, but I do have 25 here this evening. You may drop off household items for reuse or recycling on September 21st. Harford County residents can drop off these items for the recycling and reuse free of charge at the Community Collection Day on Saturday 21st from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the parking lot at the Bel Air High School. There's also free paper shredding will be available, and BG&E is offering rebates to their customers on certain selected items. So I want you to go to the site that I will give you. BGE going to give you any kind of rebate. You certainly don't want to miss it, as high as electricity has been and continues to climb. Maryland has the largest Italian festival, September 27th to the 29th. Back again, they're here again. The Galbani Italian Festival will be held September 27th to the 29th. The Equestrian Center is where it will be held, and at Harford County's Parks and Recreation Facility in Bel Air. Put it on your calendar. You'll have a great time. Eating food is always a pleasure, regardless of the area that you're going to enjoy this food in. There are tickets. You can get the tickets by clicking online. They'll have the food there, carnival attractions, and national entertainment will be there as well. Music is always a good way to relate to one another. Our veterans, how many people are veterans here today? We love you. We need you, and we thank you for your service. We have Veterans Corner. We all serve. Hike September 21st. In recognition of Suicide Prevention Month, we're promoting healthy connections for veterans, active military, and their families, and friends. Join us, because we all served Hike on Saturday, September 21st. Join us on that specific date. It's a 1.2-mile hike through the woods and fields from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Popular Grove Park, 3219 Conowingo Road in Street, Maryland. So if you like to exercise, that's the time to join in to do that. Once again, it's September 21st. Join us at the scenic 1.2-mile hike. It's through the woods and fields, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Popular Grove Park, 3219 Conowingo Road in Street. We'll also have information from local veterans groups that will be there. A DJ, giveaways, and refreshments. A farm-themed playground is on for our kids. It's sponsored by Bel Air's American Legion Post 55, Maryland Federally Employed Women, and the Harford County Commission on Veterans Affairs. The event is free and all are welcome. Those that know Bob Brown will probably be there. We want you to watch Harford's TV, Inside Harford County's licensing and inspection permits. The county executive wants you to join him and Rich Truitt, Harford County's Director of Licensing, Inspections, and Permit, along with our host, this month on Inside Harford County. We'll be talking about, or he'll be talking about, the often unseen ways these vital government services keep you safe. Inside Harford County is Harford's TV half-an-hour community affairs program, airing at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. This month, starting on September 11th, on the Armstrong Channel 7 HD 101. Darlington Apple Fest, October the 5th. People have never been to the Apple Fest. This is your year to go. The Darlington Apple Fest is October the 5th. Vendor spots are still available, so anyone that's interested in showing their wares and products, there's vendor spots still available. I'm almost finished, timekeeper. Get ready for a day of apple-filled fun in charming village of Darlington with music, artwork, crafts, and of course, tasty apple delights. Mark your calendar, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, October the 5th. Proceeds support local nonprofits, and a few vendor spots, as I said before, are available. So I want you to think about this. You can bring the kids. Oh, that's my time? Okay.
You're good.
I want you to bring your kids. To get more information and updates, you can go to the Harford County government. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and also check out Instagram. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Tom.
All right, Ron, you're up.
Thank you. Well, it's been a long summer. We're back here in winter time, coming into winter time. Weatherman can't make up his mind whether he wants or what's going on. A couple things we'll talk about. Lenore did steal some of my thunder about September being Suicide Prevention Month, that type of thing. Gas line going to that house. Okay. I can't give any more information than other has been released out there on that. There's some other stuff that's going on. I did want to talk about a couple of things though. We talked about, I think before we broke, I talked about having grills outside your house, and this is probably a small picture you can't see. I showed you a picture a couple months ago about a grill next to the house. Here's one just happened on August 25th. $1,500 damage to the house. The grill was burning right next to the house. Caught the siding on and went up underneath the siding into the house. So just please be careful when you're using that. Okay, the other thing to talk about, portable fireplaces. The weather's getting cool. More people are using portable fire pits, whether they're gas, wood, or whatever. Be very careful with it. There's a lot of information in the back on this flyer on the back table. You can get one before you leave if you like. Okay, these cause a lot of people to get hurt during this time of year. People playing around, throwing gasoline on it, or things like that, things you shouldn't be doing, getting too close, kids getting too close, pets getting too close. Should be at least a 3-foot area around it to stay away from it. Another information sheet I brought in, a white paper on fire safety for older adults and caregivers. Okay, if you're a caregiver or something, older adult, there's a good sheet to talk about some things about fire safety, what to look for around their house if they're living in a home by themselves, even if they're living in assisted living. I've seen several violations in assisted living places where I've been called in. And of course, we talked about, again, a couple months ago, and I brought the fire this up, I close the door around. Close your door when you sleep at night. Okay, and the reason is the difference between a fire breaks out and your door being closed or open could mean a matter of life or death. Okay, and really, 30 years ago, you probably had 17 minutes or more to get out of the house if an alarm went off, the house catches fire. Right now, you're down to 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Okay, when you hear that smoke alarm, that's if you hear it right away. Okay, so think about the process that happens. Everybody says, I know my way out of my house. You want to know 2 ways out of your house and practice it. Everybody says, I know my way out of the house. The problem is, you wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, the alarm's going off, the house is full of smoke. Do you know which way to go? Don't tell me yes, because I know you don't. And I'll tell you that because it happened to me when I was 22 years old. My house caught fire. The fire on the stove. A pot of food. Back then, the electric stoves didn't have a light on them or anything, so you didn't know it was completely off. The stove was not completely off. There was some food on the stove. Caught fire in the kitchen. The whole house is full of smoke. We're all waking up. Didn't know where to go. The only one, the smart one was my dog. He went down the basement, out the basement door. So really, practice. Know your way out of your house. Know what to do. Think about it and practice it with your kids. The other thing was, we talked about the safety with the smoke alarm and stuff, and I'm gonna bring this up every month, we always talk about it. Make sure they're working. I can't tell you how many calls I get for people that's not working smoke alarms, or they're not working properly, or they're beeping it, and they wonder what's wrong with it. Usually it's just to change the battery. However, they're only good for 10 years. 10 years is all they're good for, okay? After that, you're gonna get false alarms, you're gonna get alarms going, maybe not even going off at all. Make sure you're changing them every 10 years. If you live in a community where you can't do it yourself, you hire a handyman. And I say that because most of them are hardwired. I get calls every day. And if it's a hardwired alarm, I cannot change it. Okay, I'm not an electrician. I can't be responsible if something goes wrong. And I'll do it for my house and I'll do it myself. I know what I'm doing. Okay, but I can't do it legally because the fire department will not back me up if something goes wrong. Or if I get hurt changing one of those out. What we have are 10-year battery ones, which aren't hardwired. They're in addition to your hardwired alarms. An extra backup, because if your hardwired alarm does go out, your power goes out and that battery goes dead on you, do you have 9-volt batteries enough to replace every single one to make sure it's still gonna work? You don't know how long that 9-volt battery is gonna last. These 10-year battery ones are not gonna go dead on you for 10 years. So you've got a backup. It's an additional price to pay. And then when I say that, what price do you put on your life and your family's life? Okay, we'll put them in for free in addition to, but we cannot cover up a hardwired thing, which I've seen. We cannot pull out the wires from the hardwired one because you pulled it down. And I say this because I've seen too much of it now in Harford County as I go around the county and do things. Remember, October is Fire Prevention Month. It's coming up very soon. We will be around November 20th. My safety house, if those of you have heard me talk about the certified foot safety house that we have, will be up at the Equestrian Center with the rest of the fire department. We'll be doing demonstrations, talk about safety in the house and itself, in the house, in the bedroom, what to do in case there is a fire on the stove and you're on your oven or in the bedroom. We'll give you some tips and give you some information on the different sound between a smoke alarm and a CO alarm. Okay? There's a different sound to them, and you don't want a CO alarm up on the ceiling. Now everybody's gonna say, well, I've got one like that, because that's what they put in when they bought the house, a combination alarm. I will tell you this, the fire marshal in the state of Maryland, or the acting fire marshal as well, right now, does not like those, because CO is heavier than smoke. But if CO gets that high, and you're saying this is a higher CO, it's commercial, but your COs are probably 70, probably is average. If the CO gets that high in a house, you're not gonna hear the alarm going off anyway. Okay, you're gonna be in a deep sleep, if not gone, hate to say it. So smoke, CO detectors should be down low, 24 to 36 inches off the ground, where most of your outlets are. That's the way they should be. That's about all of it. We didn't get call numbers, because it was too early in a month over the year. I can tell you we've been very busy. And I know one of the ladies that was talking about, they want to call Joppa, Magnolia, send an ambulance or something like that. Right now, you do not know where that ambulance is coming from if you call 911. Okay, because we're so busy, you might get an ambulance that's sitting at Abingdon, you might get one sitting at Bel Air, you might get one that's sitting down in Baltimore County. Okay, so you may not always get the ambulance from the company you want. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, the lady over there was talking about how the questions, with 911 dispatchers, and I've talked to Rick about this many times, and as an emergency responder, I get on the phone, they know my number, they know I'm a responder, I give them my ID number, they go through all those questions, I tell them exactly what's wrong, what's going on, and they're still going through all the questions on it. I'm a responder, I know what's I know, they're still gonna go through they have a list, and they're like robots. And it's probably the same thing on the police side too, I would think. They're gonna ask you questions regardless of what you say to them. So, and it's frustrating for me being a responder. I need somebody, this is what I got going on. I got somebody have a heart attack or whatever. I can describe what's going on. I get the same thing as a responder. If I'm on the phone with them or if I'm on the radio, they're gonna request. So you really don't know. I think Rick did a real great presentation talking about what goes on behind the scenes is something that you don't see and don't really know about. Other than that, we've had quite a few fires. Most of them are results of being irresponsible, leaving food on the stove. We had one in Abingdon where it was a bad cord on a lamp that had it shorted out. I don't know how it broke open, but that's what the fire marshal determined. And we just had one this afternoon that someone got burned in a house up in Harford Graves, and I'm not sure what caused that fire, but we don't know yet. I haven't seen a report yet. So please be careful out there. Please watch fire pits, fireplaces, space heaters, whatever you got them on. Make sure space heaters are turned off at night. Keep anything flammable at least 3 feet away from your portable heaters in your house, wherever they are. Don't put them in the curtains, couches, or anything else.
Okay.
Are there any quick questions? Anybody?
And I would mention is the decorative candles. Don't go out and leave your candles lit. You know, the pretty ones, they smell like apple, they smell like vanilla. I have cats, and cats jump up.
Yep.
I found out
My dog does
I
too.
cannot use them in the bathroom because they will jump up on the sink and set the house on fire.
Yeah, do not leave candles lit. I actually mentioned that. One of
Do
the
not
first
leave
fires
them
that I was on.
unattended. Do not leave the house, and even go outside your yard.
Yeah,
You have a candle.
with Joppa Magnolia, it was a Christmas time fire. I think you were driving the engines. We had one that was started by candles burning. People just moved into the house down on Shore Drive, I think it was somewhere around there. And that's what it caused it. Luckily, we had saved the dog. We pulled the dog out. The guys had permission to use the ambulance to take the dog to the animal hospital. Thank you all for your attention. Like I said, the flyers are back there. Like I said, we're getting ready to do some big smoke alarm.
Go ahead and take me back one.
Just break it up for your information. Fire Department of New York City have put out just 2 days ago the number of calls, multi-called daily situation with electric bikes, go-karts, utility vehicles that are being plugged in apartments, multi-story apartments that are catching fire. All right, you've got to recharge them, but don't leave them plugged in. Don't leave them plugged in at night at all. If you've got some of your kids or grandkids' toys that are rechargeable, unplug them when they go to bed. All right, and even cell phones, shavers that are plugged in, unplug them after you go to bed at night. Unplug them. Because they do catch fire. There's not a lot of fires on cell phones, but they do catch fire. But New York City is having a real problem with rechargeable phones. I'm sorry, rechargeable bikes and scooters and that kind of stuff in these multi-story apartments. All right, just an FYI. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the let me get my glasses here, Paul. Oh well, I lost that one. I'll get back to it later. That's enough. Thank you.
Debbie's still here, or did she leave?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, I can see.
Hi, I'm Debbie Button. I'm here for Councilman Guthrie. And I passed out his newsletter. If anybody didn't get one, I still have a few of them. Mostly everything you probably know is in here. Since it was unexpected for the councilman not to be here this evening, I'm sure he had 10 minutes worth of updates for you. But since I don't know what they are, I give my time to someone else. Oh, and anything that you need, his email address is right there. We're happy to help with anything. Okay? Thank you.
Can I just pass one thing on real quick? I had sent something to him, but people are starting to make plans for various things at Joppatowne High School, and yet he says that the community center is going to be built at Joppatowne High School. We need to figure out what's going to happen so that we can make the community. I think it's time for the county to start telling us what those plans are so we can make decisions for our own community. So.
I don't know. I think they're working on it.
Good point.
I think that
Well-
the county is working on it. We should be getting some information over the next month.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great.
Aaron, you're up.
That was quick, Aaron.
Make it real quick.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Penman. I represent District B on the County Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I just want to first start with my condolences for the Joppa community. My thoughts and prayers go out to the Grant family, the teachers, the students there at Joppatowne High School. I know it's a very fluid situation. I've been monitoring the situation. And I think once we have all the information from law enforcement and from the schools, we can begin to have that discussion, different steps along the way that could have prevented this tragic event. So I know in the near future, we're all going to be having the discussions. I know a lot of you here have questions. I know I earlier announced that they're going to have a listening session at 6:30 on Thursday. The reason why I didn't know the location is they're still finalizing the location. It is going to be in the Joppa community, so please stay tuned to the Board of Ed site for more details on that. I know there has been some discussions about initially some of the things that could have went better. In any situation like this, as Ron knows, there's always a debrief, initial debrief, and some of those things are radio communications, and the loudspeakers could improve. So I think those things are immediately being addressed, but more conversation is going to take place. In addition, I think the students are going back on Thursday, at least at the high school level, and they're going to address the staff of Joppatowne High School tomorrow. So I encourage you to, one, go to the listening session on 6:30 on Thursday, and also the Board of Ed normally has their meetings tonight. They were postponed till next week. So I encourage you to attend that Board of Ed meeting, and that way you'll have that session to be able to ask questions. We're not necessarily ask questions, but at least give concerns and comments. At least maybe some of the Board of Ed members can respond back to you. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. I know very little. What I have is what I just conveyed to you. With the rest of my time, I just want to talk about some of the legislative updates that we have. We're brand new back in session from our summer recess. We've had one meeting during that meeting, and I can tell you a lot of it is in, I'm sure, Councilman Guthrie's packet as well as Council President's. We've affirmed some appointments. Some of the bond bills that were pushed back from the earlier session before the summer break have been pushed back, so we just introduced those. There are a couple other legislative initiatives like the water sewer plan update. That's routine. We do that every year, twice a year actually. There's an outdoor dining moratorium extension, so we're going to be talking about that. That was introduced. Those have public hearings on October 1st. Bill and storage, changing the zoning for that will be October 1st. So if any of those interest you, come on out and listen to that. Some of the more pertinent agenda items we have for the county, not necessarily in front of the council at this point, are the comprehensive rezoning. That's where a property owner can apply to the county to upzone or downzone their particular property. That session to apply has been closed. The county received about 66 applications for upzoning and a few downzoning. In the Joppa community, there's 2 that are requesting upzone. In District B, which is a little bit north of here, District B encompasses from Baldwin down to Joppa over to Abingdon, west side of Bel Air to Forest Hill. There are 10 upzoning requests. So the process for that is those applications are being evaluated by the Planning and Zoning Department in the executive branch. From there, through that evaluation, they will recommend what properties should be upzoned to the council. It will come over in the form of a bill. From that point, the council will evaluate what properties that were sent over. I know Councilman Wagner is here. He's been through this process probably many times. So not all the applications that have been submitted will come over to the council. Now, the council does have the authority to add or subtract off of what is presented to us. So there will be public hearings on all those, so I encourage the community to come out. Provide that feedback for that particular property, because each zoning classification that is applied allows for different uses, right? Different uses require, different demand on the community. So that will be considered along with the economic development that each of these properties could potentially have in that particular area. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in that. In addition, the BG&E, I don't know if anybody's heard, but BG&E is contracted to reroute the power that was normally coming from the Brandon plant, which is down there in Anne Arundel County. It was a coal plant. The state has sought to close that, so they will be rerouting it from Pennsylvania. Now, what's going to be happening is, through that contract, they're going to be, at this point, through Harford County, using the pre-existing power lines that are there. They're going to be improving them, making them bigger. Luckily, when BG&E actually put this power plant, the power lines on there originally, they left enough room on those areas to be able to expand. So some of the questions that we have is, what's the next step in the future? Is there going to be room for expansion in the future, right? There's a question about, property rights. There's a question about the electromagnetic stuff that comes off of those. There's a question about, should we bury these lines? Those all involve very in-depth conversations. I look forward to having those conversations, but it all costs money. And I can tell you, starting when this project starts, which most likely will be 16 to 24 months from now, because the application, the permits to the state have just now been applied for in June, I think, or July. Once that starts, there's going to be assessment on everyone's BG&E bill. We do not know what that is.
I went to the meeting, and it ranged between $4 and $10 per family household.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring at least 10. Up month.
Yeah. So I don't have those exact numbers. That's that's good information. That will stay. Hang on one second. I'll be right with you. That will stay on the bill until the expansion project is done, because that's a reliability fee that Brandon Shore's power plant, coal power plant, has said, we're going to stay open, but we need extra compensation for staying open. So that's what that fee, that reliability fee, is for. Yes, sir.
Okay. The Carroll Island plant, I believe they've shut down or in the process of shutting down. They're shutting down the one in Brandon Shores, what you're saying. Okay. So they're shutting all these plants down. They're not building more. Anybody that knows anything about economics and supply and demand, when the supply goes down but the demand goes up, BG&E is going to be reaching into my back wallet, left it with both hands, not just with one hand, with both hands. Okay, why is the county not pushing to have the gas power plants, which are the cleaner version, being built here to replace these? Okay, I think the county needs to be doing this to help the citizens, because I mean, in this economic time, the citizens are shoveling out more money than they're bringing in. And why is BG&E getting away with this?
All your concerns are my concerns. A lot of this is driven by the energy policies of the state of Maryland. To me, be independent on energy. I think we should expand. Long term, we should have nuclear power, which is a whole lot better power, right? But right now, they have taken emphasis to remove coal, fossil fuel energy, and import that same fossil fuel energy from a different state. So, so that way we can maintain a certain energy, low fossil fuel rate. So, to answer your question, the county has very little influence on this, but we are going to have a voice on this. I'm currently working on a resolution to talk about a lot of the things that we need. And then the future. What does the future look like for the state of Maryland? So again, it's a resolution. Does it have the teeth that we want? Absolutely not. But it's still a voice. It's a conversation. And that resolution will be directed towards the state to begin that conversation. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to know if you could elaborate on the Abingdon Woods situation. What happened? How did that turn out the way it did?
So, Abingdon Woods was called adjudication as far as, you know, allowing the permits, the counties. I can stop if you want. Not on this one. Not on this one. So, through that process, you know, I think the county lost on a lot of those, but that was a very, very large company that was overseeing that. And the very, very large companies don't like to actually engage and dole out money for legal fees. So, you know, there were certain bonds that were invested from this company that needed to be released. So that was the compromise the county came up with to release that property. And, you know, here, I believe in property rights. I believe in, you know, this property owner has the rights that are in the permitted usages. That one was obviously something that the community, you know, didn't want, and that's why we are in this situation. But, you know, at the same time, the property owner does have a right to develop that property based off of laws, zoning laws. So that conversation will go on. Who knows what that property will be? I know there's going to be a lot of discussion. It's a very large piece of property, and that's the same with the Perryman Peninsula. It's the same situation. So I look forward to the community and the property owner and the county working together so we can have a smart, balanced economic growth piece of property that can benefit the county for years to come. Because, you know, we all don't like the development. I don't like sitting through traffic lights, but we still need smart, balanced economic growth to sustain things like public education, to sustain public safety. So to sustain the DES Center, which Rick Ayers did a fantastic job. Let me just kind of go sideways on that for a minute. He is a great partner for law enforcement. I can tell you that firsthand. And he's a tremendous asset, and Harford County is lucky to have Rick Ayers there. So these are things that need to be carefully evaluated going forward, and again, carefully evaluated during comprehensive rezoning as well. So I look forward to the input and the feedback from the community as it relates to that, and then the comprehensive rezoning process.
Okay, thank you.
I will say one last thing. Lenora, I was happy for her retirement, but I was happy that I would finally get to reveal some of the things that the community was doing, but she stole all my thunder, so she's back. All right.
Is a representative from Andre office here? Okay. Rob, you have anything? And then we want to finish up so that we can get into.
Well, I can't tell you how many calls our office gets on a daily basis looking for Lenora. That is a constant stream of people that know you well, have always relied on you for things, and are calling in every day. We miss you there. The Gunpowder Cove Marina, the county executive and the law department and also economic development have been diligent in contacting Marine Max, EPA, MDE, health department, trying to work through what that's going to be or what they're looking to do with it, and just trying to explore all the avenues. Harford Square cameras are started. I told you when we started this in the beginning that nothing happens quick with the government, and it doesn't. So BG&E, there's a work order into them for the cameras. It started out with just the camera project, and it ended up, BG&E came back several days later and said, oh, no, we want a work order for each and every camera, not just the project. So, you know, those kind of things are the things that extend the time, but it's being worked on. Ridgely's Reserve, certainly that's a very fluid situation that the county is staying right on top of, and not backing off on that just because, you know, you're not badgering them every day. The county is very diligent in what they're trying to achieve there and try to get some resolution that's suitable. Ongoing trash and street sweepings, that's being addressed. Now, we don't have a schedule as such, so if I'm back, if you want to contact me, I'd be happy to get DPW out there. The other day, I went down through Brookside and I can't even think of the other one now off the top of my head, but I called up DPW and within 2 days, they were in there street sweeping and did a good job on those. So as they get dirty or trash gets out there, go ahead and contact me or contact DPW, whatever it takes, we'll get it done. Also for communities that want to do some trash pickups and stuff like that, and community trash, contact DPW or contact myself, and we'll set up something for a community cleanup. Harford Square Clubhouse, that's part of 755's partnership. They're doing a great job within the community. They've got an activity coming up in October 19th. Be sure to look, Dion's covered everything in his newsletter, so if you look through there, there is that music event is featured in that newsletter. On a weekly basis, we probably go through 8, 10, 12 different grant opportunities to see where they will fit in and around the southern part of the county. So we're constantly scouring those. We've got, for fast moving projects, we applied for the tree grant back in February. We got word just a few weeks ago that we did receive the tree grant. So come this spring, there'll be some tree plantings going on in the Edgewood, Joppa area. We've seen an increase in youth participation at the Parks and Rec programs that are here, particularly in the southern end, and that was one of the achievements that we want to see, because we've got to get the youth more involved. We've got to get them focused direction, but it's going to take everybody. It's going to take the families. I mean, the family's where it starts, and you all know that. This group here is like preaching to the choir. You know what we need. We just got to get everybody else motivated and activated and make sure that they bring them along and try to change the trajectory of your community and your neighborhood. So I'll leave some cards here for you, and be glad to hear from you for whatever you need, and anytime I can help you out, give me a call. Thank you all.
Before we finish up, announcements from the community, we'll start. Bill, go ahead.
Come to the front. You want?
Oh, please, that would make it so much easier on me. Thank you.
I'm Bill. I've been working with a bunch of people, including a group called Mad About Mud, to see if we can clean up the gunpowder. I like what Rob set up, Tulare County taking it seriously as reserved, because I don't even bother to call the county for complaints anymore, unless I call the state to go with them on the inspections. What we're doing, though, the Gunpowder Riverkeeper filed a lawsuit against the developer. We got the state to file a lawsuit against the developer. And we're gonna, and even if we win these lawsuits, we probably have 5 years of cleaning up the gunpowder, because 80%, actually it's 87 to 90% of the underwater grasses are dead. So, we're gonna have a flotilla for the gunpowder on September 28th. So if anybody's got a kayak, a surfboard, a boat, a rubber ducky, a rubber shark, and you're from Joppa, meet at Mariner Point Park at 9:30 a.m. We're gonna have coming from anywhere. They can come from Rumsey Island on their own boats. They can come from Oliver Beach or Harewood in their own boats. We got people coming from Essex, because this dirty water has expanded all the way down in almost to Baltimore City. We're probably going to need $1 million+ to clean this mess up and replant the grasses and get the. We can't get the dirt out of the water because it floats, but we can get it when it settles. So we're going to have to dredge this winter, and then after that, my actual hope is we have a big storm this winter to flush it out after they clean up the site, which I filed a complaint this week because it's still bare ground. I got a few of these. They really aren't the final version, because I'm supposed to send the final version to somebody else, but the date and time are right. So if anybody wants that, if they want a little more information just on the overall, we have something on the table from Mad About Mud. Any questions?
You can also rent a kayak, right?
Oh yeah, we work with Ultimate Water Sports. Yeah. If you don't have a kayak, they're gonna like cut their rate in a third and rent you a kayak for $30. But most people have something in this area, or they know somebody with something they can borrow.
Be nice even if you had something to show up and rent from Hal, if you didn't mind to support a local business, who's given a huge deduction. And who could use the business, cause he's bringing people in to be there to help support the effort.
No, Hal's been great on this, and from the time we asked him, he said, what can I do? In fact, he doesn't open at 9:30, he said, we'll open at 9:30.
Yeah.
The idea is to get boats coming in from downriver, upriver, around, get the media to see them coming in, they meet at the Amtrak Bridge, come to the Mariner Point for a short presentation of what we've done, what we have to do, and where we go from here.
And news is coming, right? Media's coming.
We got a press release, we've gotten them a couple times, we'll try to get them again.
What date is that?
It is September 28th, it's a Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Who here has a boat, or a kayak, or anything? Okay, who's willing to go out in it? Good. If you know neighbors, borrow their boats.
I got chest waders.
Good enough. You can walk around that point, it's at low tide.
Dan Chan is the president of the rec council. He wasn't able to, but he did ask me to. You can go on Facebook, and there's also a QR code rather that you can use. So family's been for nothing. That's something that I'm sure we appreciate.
Are they selling anything?
Dan didn't tell me that. He just said there's a fundraiser going on, and he said, you know, if they can raise more money for the family, that's their goal. He wasn't specific about that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat it one more time? Because the live stream cut out.
Okay, I said on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Copenhagen, there will be a fundraiser for the family of Warren, the young man who was killed. Dan didn't tell me specifically what's going on. He said they've raised over $600. They're trying to raise more for the family. And there are going to be games going on. So he said if people aren't comfortable going to Copenhagen, that they can either go on Facebook or there's a QR code they can go to. Thank you.
Thank you. The gentleman in back.
How are you doing? My name is Marcus Custer. I'm actually here to promote my petition I have going on. I have a petition that's circling around for immediate change. We have about 3,500 signatures going around Harford County so far. I can provide you guys with a QR code if you need it. We also have a Facebook group. It's called Harford County Cares. A couple hundred members, people in there. I don't know if you guys noticed, there's a gap that exists. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I'm trying to bridge that gap. I would like to speak for my demographic, and I would like to start connecting people with other people that care. So if any of you guys have any information on that, you can talk to me after this, and I'll be here for that.
Okay. I have a question. What topic are you on?
I'm sorry, it's related to the incident at Joppatowne High School and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, the petition more or less is for immediate action and safety protocols that get updated in the school system.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Banta Miller. I'm president of the 755 Alliance, longtime resident of Edgewood, 49 years plus. I actually wore my Joppatowne Edgewood shirt to show that our communities are so fluid and interconnected. You know, as a retired educator, I saw our kids moving back and forth between the two communities. So the events from Friday deeply saddened me and brought to light the work that we've been doing since I retired, and that is to revitalize the community, to provide things for kids to do, you know, an avenue. So we welcome the work of anybody that's interested in helping us achieve our revitalization goal. And Harford County government has been a great partner for us in that we were successful in garnishing, obtaining some grants. Recently, we worked on the reconstruction of the basketball courts behind the grocery outlet for us long-timers behind Giant, and just in time for a great tournament that's held by a community member out of his own pocket, but he just couldn't repair the courts. So that was a great investment for us to raise funds and do that. and we won a big grant from the state of Maryland for community placemaking. So next year, we have plans for a skate park on Cedar Drive. So we take dilapidated spaces and fix it up so that kids will have something to do that's free. And that's gonna be accompanied by a walking fitness trail, so that it's for physical and mental health, and a place for students, you know, everybody, adults, young and old, can attend. So the other piece to what we're doing, I forgot to mention with the urban tree, we were a partner with the county, and we are gonna be planting trees in the Edgewood Joppa zip code, and so that was a project through the Chesapeake Bay Trust. And separate from that, we worked with the American Heart Association, and we're gonna hopefully put in 2 community gardens free to the community. If they help, we're gonna establish it. One is gonna be waiting for site approval, but the funding's there. So one's gonna be at the American Legion, Post 17, right on Edgewood Road, 755. And the other one's gonna be hopefully at the First Harford Square, to accompany some of the projects that we're gonna be working with the county to support the revitalization of their community center. And then it's not all work, so we do have a fun event planned, free for the public. It's a concert festival at Flying Point Park. It's called Music at the Point. We're set for October 19th, rain or shine. We have live bands, we have food trucks, and we're gonna ask you to bring lawn seating and just enjoy a good time with your neighbors. And we're going to repeat that event for Joppatowne at Merritt Park in the spring, May of 2025. And we'll start those plans once we get through the month of October. But just look for things. Right, just look for fun things to come. And again, we will continue to sponsor events that is good for families and kids to bring them out. And so with Edgewood Family, the kite day, we look for that for 2025 again. And then any other groups that want to have an event with us, we will be glad to support. And at last night's vigil for the Warren Grant family, we saw that there's a court, like a basketball area where he loved to play, and it looks terrible. So already that's on our radar, that we need to figure out who owns that and how do we expand it to make it a full court, and with the costs associated, so I can start to do my grant writing. But we are all volunteers committed to revitalizing the community so that Edgewood Joppa become a great place for everybody to live, work, and play. And that's been our mission.
I just want to piggyback something on Music in the Park. Everybody needs to be there at 11, because I happen to personally know the band that's playing at 11. They are fantastic. The lead person happens to be my son, but that has nothing to do with it.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the local high school band. I thought you knew that.
The group is called Days of Vinyl, and they are fantastic. In fact, they just got done and had a gig they played at the Maryland State Fair.
Yes.
And so they really good.
We have a great slate for you.
Yes.
So now bring a lawn chair, it's free for the.
All right, anybody else in the community? From the community?
I got one that hasn't been mentioned yet.
All right, then make it quick, because we want to finish up.
September the 20th, it was supposed to have been August the 10th, but because of the storm, they canceled it. It was a horde of people there, because apparently the only place they had put it at was on social media. But the vaccine clinic through the Harford County Health Department has been rescheduled for Saturday, September the 21st. It is still gonna be at the Fire Hall in Whiteford, 10 a.m. to 2. Most of the shots are $10 each. The microchipping is $25. They're also doing nail trims for the cats and dogs that day.
Oh, good, okay. Okay. Adam, do you have anything that you'd like to?
Yes, I have a few. Just Okay, I think we're back.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. Just to catch everybody up who just missed that on the live stream, Sephora Damare is going to have dinner or lunch for the staff at Joppatowne High on Friday.
Friday,
So
yeah.
if you would like to support that, you can. And then there's a group of people who are going to have some Google Docs to talk to teachers who to talk about things that they might need. And then we'll also have a separate one for things that we can donate. And then we'll kind of be the middle people to talk to each other. Let's put it on jtown.org because I have something else coming on jtown.org. Some quick announcements for you. First of all, I substitute teach at Joppatowne High School, and I am also the preacher at Joppatowne Christian Church, so I'm just going to be at Joppatowne a lot this week. If people would like to offer support or do whatever, let me know, and I would be happy to be a conduit to try to get that kind of support into the high school. And right now, I was there today. Things are very fluid right now. It was just very foggy. Nobody's quite sure what to do or what the schedule is going to look like over the next 2 days. We're hoping that the kids will be able to come back on Thursday, but things are still kind of up in the air. On Wednesday night, there's a group of Joppatowne High alums who are doing a letter writing campaign to have notes of encouragement sent to the staff at Joppatowne High. That's going to be Wednesday night from 6 to 8 at Joppatowne Christian Church. If we get a ton of people, then we'll open up different rooms, so just kind of look for the crowd. That is going to be the primary thing on Wednesday night.
Where is Joppatowne Christian Church?
It's in Joppatowne. 725 Trimble Road. If you want to come by, you're more than welcome to do that. On Saturday at Joppatowne Christian Church, which is at 725 Trimble Road in Joppatowne, we're going to have a free yard sale, which is it's set up exactly like a yard sale, except everything's free. So if you know anybody who needs things, this is great for people who are just starting out or who have recently experienced a fire in their home because they didn't keep the door closed when they were sleeping or something like that. That's 7 to 12 free yard sale on Saturday. On Monday, a week from tonight, at the Joppatowne Christian Church building, which is at 725 Trimble Road, there's a Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation meeting. And we're a group that is kind of like Bangtung's group, but we're a couple steps behind them. So we're working with the county to try to eventually get to the point where we can write grants with them. But one of the things that we were looking at our last meeting was that back in 2003, there was this great community plan created by people in Joppa and Joppatowne. And it has sat on a shelf for 21 years because we haven't had an administration like we have now that has supported our community. So our goal on Monday is to talk about things in that plan. So if you would like to read what that plan says, I have a link to it at jtown.org, which is www.jtown with the E on the end.org. We'll also put those Google Docs there that we were just talking about. So if you're interested in that, come on out. That's at 6 o'clock at the JCC building, and then there's also that. On September 28th, which if you don't have a boat, then you can come to the JCC building at 725 Trimble Road for, we're actually hosting the rotating to recruit other churches. So if you know churches or community organizations that are willing to let people stay overnight and sleep, we're having an information session on the 28th about that. And that's going to be from 10 to 12. Please try to let us know that you're coming because we're providing brunch. So please let us know if you do plan to do that. But that's just an information session about how churches can primarily get involved. Or if you want to be like a gung-ho volunteer, you can come to that too. Just so you know, the dates for Joppatowne Christian Church are January 3rd to the 13th and February 3rd to the 10th. And we'll also have our Super Bowl party if you would like to come to that as well. On October 19th, while Music in the Park is going on, there's going to be the Historic Festival over at Copley Parish. So if you would like to be a part of that, I can get you the information on who does that.
What was that date again?
That's October 19th.
After 11 o'clock,
After you hear Paula's son play.
That's a neat thing to go to.
Yeah, that's like back 400 years ago when Joppa was just getting started. There was a settlement there, and they really do a good job of illuminating some of that history. On October 24th from 12 to 5 at the JCC building, there's a blood drive. And thank you to everybody who handled the last blood drive. I had COVID, so I couldn't be there. So I had some volunteers step up. I really appreciated that. And then one other comment, just for comprehensive rezoning, Aaron talked about that. One of the sites that's looking for rezoning is the Joppatowne Christian Church building, and one of the things, 725 And the reason that we're looking to rezone is because we have a guy in our church who loves the idea of having an electronic sign, and we're zoned R3, which is residential, and we're not allowed to have one. So we're trying to rezone to B2, which is what Good Shepherd Presbyterian Church and Holy Spirit Catholic Church, they're B2 as well, and because of that, they're allowed to have electronic signs. So we're not looking to put a business there or anything like that. Not saying that like nothing would ever happen, but our plan is just get rezoned so that we might be able to get an electronic sign. So that's all. Yes, sir.
In reference to your rotating homeless shelter.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about doing outreach down at Mariner Point Park, especially early in the morning? Because we're starting to notice some people who possibly might be homeless sleeping down there in the park. We're coming upon them early in the morning.
Okay.
While they're sleeping down there.
Well, if you see them and you feel comfortable, feel free to tell them to be connected with the Harford Community Action Agency, which is just down the road here. They're the ones who do the primary street outreach, and they're also the ones who would be putting anybody in any shelter throughout the county. They are the first point of contact for that. Now, the rotating homeless shelter only runs during the winter right now. We're also trying to add on to that, but if anybody's looking for shelter, that would be the place to go to start. Once we open, we're going to open January 3rd. It's at the Joppatowne Christian Church building. That's the first rotation this year.
Right.
Once we open, then we would be able to talk to those people and put them in shelter, and then get them to the Community Action Agency. But the first stop is always better to do that. And then if you would like, I can get in touch with the street outreach team from the Community Action Agency, then they would be able to get in contact with those people. And we can too, but like they're better at it. That's what they do for
I didn't know if you were up at like 6:30 in the morning.
Me? That's only if I'm still up from the night before. Anybody? Yes.
I have another event.
Oh, okay.
Today, two of the churches that are in the Joppa Edgewood area. One is Pastor Chloe's church, which is behind where it used to be the Italian restaurant, and there's a liquor store there, and this church that sits back there. That's Pastor Chloe's church. And then the church that I go to down at 513 Joppa Road in Joppatowne, the church got down there, are participating in the Woodstock Jesus Festival, which will be held in Victoria's Faith Fellowship at 106 Rock Spring Church Road in Forest Hills. But it's churches from this area that are participating in it, in a big tent meeting. Okay.
I'm sorry I'm not moving the camera to get to you. We've disconnected too many times.
I missed my outfit.
The only comment I got goes to what you brought back. Why in the hell are we closing fossil fuel plants to buy electricity out of state and raise our rates?
Insane.
All right? I have a real problem with that. The other thing I would like to see the Board of Education and the various school systems invited here to a meeting, because there's a lot of special education going on with some really good programs in the schools in Harford County that I think be good to know
I
about.
have asked to have a representative send information to us, but I don't ever get that.
Well, next month we're having our next month there's a new person who's doing apprenticeships. Her job is to link students up with apprenticeships in the community with businesses. And there's a representative at Joppatowne High School who does that, or a position at Joppatowne High School that does that, also one at Edgewood High School that does that. So we're hoping next month to get both of them. So.
You've got some really good programs for
No, don't leave. We still got a couple of announcements. Please don't leave.
All right.
Comprehensive zoning,
You know me, I love zoning. I have a large map. I have a spreadsheet. I will bring them to you next month, and they'll be at the Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation meeting on Monday
Monday the 16th at 725 Trimble Road.
so you can look at everything.
What time do you
I'll
meet,
tell you
7
about it.
o'clock?
6.
Just real quick, I have asked for the education member to send a report. I'll reach out to her again, and because I know the meeting is the same night usually as ours, but I was hoping that she'd send some kind of report to me. I'll see if I can do something about it. You are up.
Okay, guys, really quickly, one thing, the NAACP, it did make it into Dion's bulletin, but we will be at the Vander Inn this Thursday, and it is the meet and greet. I have the QR code for anybody who wants to scan it. Outside of that, we have officially launched a Girl Scout troop 4433 for Edgewood and the surrounding. Now, the only thing that we had in this county was one group that was based out of Magnolia for one age group. We are servicing K through 12. We have a lot of stuff. I need all hands on deck. Me and Amber are in charge of it. Bantam has graciously rendered the Legion Hall to be our host 2 Mondays out of a month. So, and it'll be at like 6 p.m. Free. That we did a visual and everything for the Want Grant family, but I'm wearing the People Inspiring People shirt. To anybody that needs the information, it's gonna be on the back of my shirt, but she, Alicia Pope, she wants to offer support to the community. This is somebody that's already in our neighborhood that goes into schools and everything like that to help our children, help homelessness, help everything. To the young man in the back, we will get with you, but you are looking at your community advocates in this room. So if you need help bridging that gap, they're already here. You don't have to look far. It was something else I was supposed to say, but I love y'all.
So you all are gonna do seniors and cadets and have girls that'll be pursuing their silver and gold awards?
We're down, we have the brownies all the way up to the cadets, all the way up to the ambassadors, to anybody that's retired, they can volunteer.
Yeah, I did all the way to
So you're my Girl Scout cookie hookup, got it.
And we got merch, but it's Mr. Bob time.
I got nothing.
I gotta
I'm
say
good.
thank you to Bob.
Way to step up, Bob.
If you wanna give them to me, I'll type them up and then I'll.
Don't leave with them like I did.
Yeah. I'll get them typed up and we'll have them the next week. Next one. If there's nothing else, then we will call meeting adjourned.
Stay for prayer.
It's only 8:35.